Hello again. Today's topic is about suicides. Why do we commit suicide? Why do people commit suicide? It could be a mental disorder. It could be a great loss. It could be depression, overwhelmed with problems. It could be being bullied. Teenagers today really, you remember as a teenager how having friends is so important. And being bullied is a big problem in middle school and high school. And many teenagers or even preteens are bullied and are online on Facebook or Instagram or other social venues. And they feel they have no friends. Everybody hates them. And these young people commit suicide. Terrible loss. An individual may not see the future. They see a dark future. They don't see anything. They have no purpose or meaning to their life. And they have this idea, well, why is it life is not worth living? A great loss could be money, could be a divorce, or could be your loved one, losing your loved one, death, or tremendous rejection. So people have their reason to commit suicide. And it's really horrible, sad. And it's a great loss of a life. I know I read during the 30s of Great Depression, those who lost great sums of money jumped out of windows because they could not handle the disgrace or the loss. So everybody has a different reason for committing suicide. I remember Robin Williams, his idea was that he was had a disease, an illness that was making him very inadequate functionally, mentally. So he didn't want people to face his physical and mental disorder, decline. So he committed suicide, not realizing that the people who loved him wanted him to care for him. But anyway, everybody has their reason why. And of course, it's not rational. It's all emotional. And what is the alternative? What can you do? Well, there are suicide hotlines. Of course, they have, that's been going around for many, many years. I know one of my close friends' father committed suicide, and my friend never overcame the reason why his father committed suicide. So what can you do? Well, depression basically is a problem. What is depression? Depression is being overwhelmed with problems and not knowing what to do with these problems. And what do I suggest? Well, if you have the funds, you might go to a therapist. Or you could buy one of my books, How to Solve Life's Problems, applying the ideas of Gurdjieff and Spinoza. Or there's another book I wrote called The Way of Spinoza and Gurdjieff, case studies of students, how to deal with problems. And that's the issue. We do not know how to handle these problems. They're so overwhelming. We can't think. And so signs of depression is you can't get out of bed, you don't want to work, you don't want to face the day. It could be a deficiency, a nutritional deficiency, lack of sleep, many other reasons of depression. But I would say the overwhelming cause of depression is not knowing how to deal with the problems that you're facing. You're overwhelmed. So I recommend journaling. Get in a book and journal. But that takes effort. It takes effort. And that's the problem with human nature. There's so much resistance to apply oneself, apply their mind. See, we've been given a gift. And what is this gift? A body and a mind. What a gift. I was born into a family of 11 siblings. I was number 9. And my parents, they were on the path of survival. They could not give us love or care or individual attention. There was a lot of tension and anxiety in our household, a lot of quarreling, a lot of fighting. The issue was always not enough money. And my father and my mother, they both were immigrants from Mexico during the Mexican Revolution. So who knows what they experienced? I really didn't communicate that well with my mother. My sisters did. I had 3 sisters and 6 brothers. 4 sisters and 6 brothers. That's 11. I was number 9. And we all suffered from a lack of love, a lack of attention, a lack of respect. So we all felt these feelings of anxiety, worthlessness, tension, and feelings of, did I say the feelings of inferiority, not being worthy? And so many of us took drugs to compensate for the pain we felt. I was fortunate to meet my teacher at the age of 30. And he guided me to learn how to awaken the mind. Now, this is an important idea about awakening the mind, because we have given a mind, but that mind is the first level of awareness. There's a second level of awareness called a higher consciousness. But the first level of awareness is how we get our knowledge. And our knowledge basically is derived from our 5 senses: sight and sound, most importantly, taste, smell, and touch. But sight and sound we hear and we believe. As children, we're born into a family, you're told what to do, what to believe in, how to behave, how to live, how to exist. So the first level of knowledge is the lowest level of knowledge, called hearsay and having mere experiences. That's not enough information to give us decision to make an adequate decision. We follow our desires, and many of our desires are imitation or emulated. We see someone, they get a new car, we want a new car. We see someone getting educated, we want to be educated. Or someone steals something, we will steal something. So we copy, we imitate, we emulate. That's the first level of knowledge, is the lowest level of knowledge. Socrates says there's a higher level of knowledge called to know thyself. But what is there to know? To know your emotions, to know your feelings. What triggers you? What triggers hate, pain, anger, envy, jealousy, hope, and fear? What are these triggers? And that is why journaling is so important. Journaling is the event that causes you pain. And then again, my book, The Way of Spinoza and Gurdjieff, gives you case studies of how to journal. And my teacher's book, How to Solve Life's Problems, is to how to access these ideas that are communicated by Gurdjieff and Spinoza. Applying Spinoza and Gurdjieff's ideas into your life. Now I'm talking about having a purpose, having a meaning. If you don't have a purpose, you don't have a meaning in your life, then you're subjected to the laws of nature. You follow the path of least resistance. You're in a state of inertia. And there's so much resistance to apply your mind. Everybody has this resistance. I did too. I dropped out of high school because I could not keep pace with what is required in the 10th grade. My mind, I was very slow. I couldn't keep up. So I turned to drugs as a child, as a young teenager. But eventually I went through the process, and I met my teacher at the age of 30. And so I've been doing this work for over 55 years. I'll be 85 in August. I published several books, and you can find my books online on thewayofspinoza.com. I don't get a lot of money for my books, and I get few students who want to be a student. Why? It's called the law of self-preservation and the law of necessity and the law of inertia. We have so much resistance to look at ourselves. As I said, Socrates says the greatest knowledge is to know thyself. But what is there to know? How you think. What causes you to do the things that you're doing? And how to awaken your mind. Gurdjieff says that we are asleep. But what does it mean to be asleep? It's the higher intelligence, the awakened state. Gurdjieff called that nirvana. Middle East gurus called it nirvana, a conscious state. But they don't really explain how to do that. Meditation is good, but it's not enough. You can go to these retreats for a week or a month, meditate all day, eat healthy food, walk these beautiful gardens. That's great. You feel blessed. You feel spiritual. But then you go back to life. And things happen. You're triggered. The simplest thing can trigger you. I remember a few years ago when COVID was, 6 years ago, COVID came out. I live in a building that is a senior community in Santa Monica, California. I'm very fortunate to live in Santa Monica. I can only live here because they allow low-income seniors to live here. I waited 3 years on a waiting list. I finally got in here. Small apartment, under 300 square feet, but it's perfect. I have a kitchen, I have a bath, and an area to sleep. That's all I need. All my students are online. And I can communicate individually, one-to-one, or we can do messages, recorded messages. If you feel uncomfortable directly talking to me. I've had people respond to me from all over the world, from China, from Egypt, Turkey, the United States, Canada, all Europe, South America, and even to Russia. I have a student right now. I'm working. We're going back and forth recording. He's from Croatia. His English is good, but he feels so inadequate in many areas. So we're working on that. I want to make him stronger. I can't do it. You have to do it to be stronger emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. But I have the tools. I have the way. Gurdjieff talks about the fourth way, the highest level of consciousness. Spinoza talks about an awakened state. And what is awake? As I said, Gurdjieff says we're asleep. But what is awake? We want to awaken the higher mind, the intelligence. Now, Jesus talked about there are two births. He talks about we have to be reborn. And the idea, what does it mean to reborn? To reborn to the higher spirit, to the higher consciousness state. Spinoza says the mind is the spirit of man. If your mind is weak, your spirit is weak. You'll follow things that are easy to acquire. You'll put in the least resistance, and you live by your ego state. The first level of knowledge is the ego state. You live in an environment, how to live and how to exist, and how to develop your ego. Because the ego is necessary to survive. Without an ego, you cannot survive. However, Gurdjieff says this, that the ego nature And the personality is a source of our growth. We need an ego to grow. We learn from our ego, but you must awaken the mind to study the ego. And so our second birth, as Spinoza communicated in his book called the Short Treatise. It's a very spiritually oriented book. I think it was Spinoza's first book prior to the Ethics. But I work with the Ethics, the Elwes edition. I mean, the Elwes translation and the Dover edition. You can reach these books at my website. Just go to the resources, tag down, scroll down, and you'll find these books. I don't make much money, maybe $25 or $30 a month. I'm not in the business to sell books. I'm in the business of communicating these spiritual, enlightened ideas. So I hope to hear from you. Put in that effort. Overcome fear. And that's a basic reason people do not want to work directly with me or be involved in a growth group, because of fear. Being out of control. We feel we have control. And one last thing is Spinoza and Gurdjieff talks about the idea, and there are other people, other neuroscientists talk about the idea that we do not have free will. But if we don't have free will, what operates? The law of necessity, the law of cause and effect, the law of self-preservation, the law of inertia. And I'm missing one. No, that's it. Anyway, I hope to hear from you. Take care of yourself. You deserve it.